The first sound Leo noticed was always his own breathing. Slow, steady, a rhythm he had learned to control long ago. It was the only sound in the archive that truly belonged to him. Everything else, the hum of crystalline discs, the faint electric buzz of copper wire spools, the soft sigh of dust stirred by his passing, was history captured, caged, and preserved. The archive stretched beyond sight, a cathedral of sound where shelves rose like endless walls. On them sat strange containers, jars of smoke that shifted as though dreaming, wax cylinders lined like soldiers, fragments of crystal glowing faintly from within. The air was heavy with old paper, ozone, and something metallic. Leo moved through it with the ease of a man who belonged nowhere else. His shoes, padded with felt, made no noise. His hands, thin but steady, slid a ladder across the shelving until he found the item he had been searching for. A black metal box, no larger than his palm, labeled Titan's Heartbeat, theoretical. At his desk, a strange island where sleek monitors coexisted with creaking amplifiers and a horned gramophone. He placed the headphones over his ears and pressed play. The sound came slowly, like something awakening from deep water. Thump, thump, thump. A heartbeat, impossibly vast, echoing through the chambers of his skull. For a moment, Leo almost smiled. Sound had always been more faithful than people. Hours passed in that ritual of listening, labeling, preserving. When the delivery cart rolled in with a fresh crate from the field, he set aside his notes and pulled it closer. He worked through it methodically. The call of a rare swallow catalogued. The last sputter of an old coal furnace catalogued. Each sound is tucked neatly into its place. At the bottom of the crate, wrapped in oil-stained cloth, he found a small cardboard box filled with reel-to-reel tapes. No documentation, no explanation, only a set of fading alphanumeric codes scrawled on the sides. He sighed, threaded the first spool and listened. The patter of rain on a tin roof. Nothing unusual. The next tape. A fire crackling, punctuated by muffled whispers in some language he couldn't place. He wrote his notes quickly, though unease stirred in the back of his mind. The third tape. Static at first, just the familiar hiss of magnetic dust. Then a voice. His own voice. Is it? No, stay back. Don't let them. Leo froze. The voice was panicked, strained, and unmistakably his. The crash of shelves followed, then the splinter of glass, his own ragged breathing filling his ears. He clutched the headphones tighter. A grunt, the violent report of a gunshot. Leo flinched, every muscle recoiling as though the bullet had found him here and now. The recording continued with wet, shallow breaths, each weaker than the last. Then came the whisper, barely audible. Remember, August 29th. The tape clicked to an end. Leo's eyes went to the calendar on the wall above his desk. The red square around today's date stared back at him. August 28th. Tomorrow was the 29th. Tomorrow, if the voice was telling the truth, he would die. Leo rewound the tape with trembling hands, pressed play again, and forced himself to listen. Every crash, every shatter, every breath. His own voice echoing back to him, dying. He played it again, and again. By the sixth time, his mind had started dissecting the sound the way he always did, peeling back layers. Beneath the chaos, there it was, a faint metallic ping, rhythmic, regular. An echo. He knew that sound. He had walked past it countless times in the deeper levels of the archive. It was the voice of the main ventilation shaft, the one in sublevel 7. Bay 12. His blood went cold. He turned from the real deck to the blueprint files on his workstation, cross-checking acoustic signatures, patterns, reverberations. The analysis confirmed it. The death on the tape, the death that hadn't happened yet, was recorded there. In the belly of the archive, a bead of sweat slipped down his temple. He wiped it away and looked around. The room seemed the same, but it wasn't. The archive had always been silent, patient, eternal. Now it felt like it was watching him. When he left his workstation to stretch his legs, he noticed things he shouldn't have. The guard by the main stairwell, the one who usually dozed in his chair, was suddenly alert, his eyes following Leo as he walked past. Two maintenance workers scrubbed the same patch of marble floor near the elevator, neither looking up, neither speaking. He had never seen them before. He returned to his desk, heart pounding. The tape wasn't just a message about his death. It was a warning. They knew. Whoever they were, they knew he had heard it. And if they knew, they wouldn't wait until tomorrow to silence him. The archive suddenly felt like a labyrinth designed to trap him. Every aisle was too long, every shadow too deep. He pulled his chair close, his mind racing. Remember, the word replayed in his thoughts, heavier each time. Why that word? If he was warning himself, why not run or hide? Why remember? He thought about what the archive truly was. Not just a library, not just a collection. It was a vault of dangerous things, sounds too powerful to be heard, frequencies that unhinged the mind, recordings of confessions that toppled regimes, sonic formulas that, once amplified, could fracture steel. It was both preservation and burial. And suddenly he understood. The crash on the tape, he had heard it as a man being thrown. But what if it was the sound of him tackling someone else? The gunshot, he had assumed it was a bullet tearing flesh. But what if it was the hiss of a dart rifle, compressed gas firing? What if the voice on the tape wasn't a man dying in panic, but a man fighting? His own voice, fighting. Leo's hands hovered over the keyboard. He opened a secure terminal, a backdoor he had coded for himself years ago, hidden deep inside the archive's database. Few ever accessed these logs. Even fewer survived when they did. Scrolling lines of text spilled across the screen. His eyes caught on a phrase. Nullification order. Artifact A29. Codename. The Lament of Icarus. The description chilled him. A crystalline frequency capable of destabilizing atomic bonds at resonance. High security threat. Absolute erasure required. Leo's mouth went dry. He remembered the artifact. He had found it himself during cataloging. A fragile shard of crystal that sang like a trapped star when struck. He hadn't understood what it was then. He did now. A skeleton key for matter itself. A sound that could unlock any vault, collapse any barrier, if amplified correctly. And the order was clear. Erase the sound, erase the man who discovered it. The tape hadn't been a curse. It had been a gift. His future self had managed to speak through time, planting the single word that would stop him from fleeing blind. Remember. Remember who you are. Remember what you fight for. Leo leaned back in his chair. Fear drained from his face, replaced by something steadier, sharper. He finally understood. He couldn't run. He couldn't hide. But he could still win. The next morning came without dawn. The archive had no windows, no clocks that mattered. Time there was measured in hums, in tapes unwinding, in dust gathering along forgotten shelves. Leo sat at his workstation, staring at the crystal fragment locked in its reinforced case. The Lament of Icarus. Beautiful, fragile, terrifying. He had catalogued it with reverence once, before he knew what it could do. Now he understood why men were willing to kill to erase it. He slipped the case into his satchel. The strap cut into his shoulder, heavy with more than weight. He was stealing the most dangerous sound in history. Or perhaps it was stealing him. The halls were not empty anymore. He could feel it. Footsteps echoed where no one walked. The elevator stopped on his floor and doors hissed open, but no one stepped out. The archive wasn't silent. It was breathing, watching, and then they came. Men in black coats, moving in pairs, their boots muffled as though the floor itself conspired to hide them. Their eyes did not search the shelves. They searched for him. Leo ducked into a side aisle, heart pounding. The satchel banged against his hip. His fingers brushed the recorder in his pocket, the same reel-to-reel tape from the crate. He realized with a shock that he hadn't been wrong. The voice on the recording wasn't a prediction. It was a loop. His life is folding in on itself. His death is playing in advance. Unless he broke it. He sprinted. down one aisle, across another, until he reached sublevel 7. The place he had identified from the tape. Bay 12. The ventilator shaft drummed its hollow metal heartbeat, steady as before. He stopped. Every nerve screamed to run, but his mind was sharper now. This was where it had to happen. This was where the loop could be rewritten. The agents closed in. Their shadows lengthened first, then their faces. Cold, professional, already certain of his end. Leo drew the recorder. He slammed the play button. The tape whirred. The chaos began, the crash, the gunshot, the voice. His voice. But now, standing here, hearing it with the agents surrounding him, something changed. He understood. The recording wasn't a prophecy. It was instructions. Every breath, every stagger, every word was a map of what he must do. The first crash, he threw his satchel into the air, smashing a crate off the shelf. Splinters flew. The agents ducked. The gunshot. He yanked a discarded flare gun from the wall mount and fired blindly into the dark. Not to kill, but to mimic the sound exactly. His voice, remember. He shouted it now, not as a plea but as a command, his own rallying cry. The room became an echo chamber, past and present colliding in perfect sync. And then he pulled the crystal from its case. It hummed faintly, delicate, alive. He struck it once against the metal vent. The note it produced was thin, shimmering, then it grew. It grew until it filled the bay, rattling the shelves, cracking the air itself. The agents froze. Their weapons shook in their hands. Leo pressed the recorder close to the crystal, capturing the sound, looping it into the reel. For a split second, he felt the impossible. That he was not just preserving the sound, but embedding himself into it. The vibration climbed, higher and higher, until it was unbearable. Lights burst. Glass shattered. Leo smiled. For the first time in years, he wasn't afraid. The crystal exploded into silence. When the dust settled, the bay was empty. The agents were gone. The satchel lay torn on the floor, but Leo was nowhere. Not a trace. Only the recorder remained, its reel spinning gently, whispering the same final word over and over again. Remember.